This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
As a scientist, I can tell you that Sundays are only 24 hours long. But with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get every game every Sunday all in one place. That's upwards of 30 hours of NFL in one day. How can there be 30 hours in 24 hours, you ask? I have a theory. Magic. New users get NFL Sunday Ticket for 8 payments of $34.50 per month. Sign up at NFLSundayTicket.com. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games and commercial use. Terms and embargoes apply. Availability varies.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Back to their brilliant self at the Paris Olympics. British rowing have started the LA 28 cycle impressively too. I'm John.
And I'm Michael. So far, so good in 2025 as far as rowing's concerned, topping the European Championships medal table, winning the overall World Rowing Cup. But as we are seeing in athletics, none of that really counts when it comes around to the World Championships.
You know, we won at Henley as well. So I think moving into the World Champs, we've just got to go in with the attitude we've had early in the year, which is just go and enjoy it, just go and see what we can do.
I want to become world champion again, so we are on a mission.
I've really enjoyed this season, actually, just building on a slightly new project.
This is my first senior vest at World Championship.
Matt Haywood, Heidi Long, Josh O'Brien and Tom Bryce readying themselves for Shanghai in China in our latest World Championship focused autumn podcasts.
This is Anything But Footy. Moving on to Milan, looking ahead to LA. Don't forget to stay in touch all the time across our social media feeds. We've got this flurry of World Championships at the moment, athletics, rowing. We've got track cycling, we've got slalom canoeing as well. We'll be right across it on all your favourite platforms. And of course, you can find out more about us at our website, anythingbutfooty.com.
European champions, World Cup winners, returning Paris 2024 medalists, others who missed out, and plenty of brand new crews as well. British Rowing have named a 48-strong squad to take on the world's best in the World Rowing Championships at the Shanghai Water Sports Centre from Sunday, September 21st to the 28th, in what could, we're told, be soaring temperatures.
Matt Haywood is one of those Paris 2024 rowers who's looking ahead rather than back. The British men's quadruple sculls finished an agonising fourth place last summer in the Olympics. But since then, Matshidiso Daffy, Callum Dixon, Rory Harris have won the European Championships and the World Cup event in Lucerne, and they're now ready for the World Championships in China.
I'm very excited. I think it should be really fun. You know, this is what we build to all year. You know, this is what we're working for all year. And, you know, it's been quite a break since we last did a bit of racing. So it's going to be nice to get back out there, you know, face the rest of the world and just see what we can do.
It has felt like a bit of a sort of truncated season since those kind of World Cup events. And then it seems as though we've had a bit of a wait. Obviously, for you guys, there's been a big training block there, I presume.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, you know, it was all packed together a lot, you know, Europeans, 2 World Cups in Henley, all back to back. You know, I think we raced 3 or 4 out of 5 weekends. You know, it was very busy. It was a bit ridiculous. And so this longer break has, you know, it's dragged a bit. It's been hard, you know, when this is all you're aiming for, it's quite tough sometimes. But yeah, we've had a lot of training, a few training camps, various different bits and pieces. But, you know, yeah, it's going to be nice to actually get some racing under our belt again.
Matt, is that just the schedule? It's just the way it is? Just the fact that the World Championships just are in Shanghai and you had to wait for it?
So I think this year the Shanghai World Championships, they're a little bit later than they usually would be. You know, I'm not involved in the planning, so, you know, I don't know exactly what their reasoning is. But they did change the calendar this year. You know, they just did 2 World Cups, put them a bit closer, did everything that a little bit earlier. I believe to allow some other countries to compete in those two events and to make the competition at those two events a little bit stronger, to stop people picking between the three World Cups like usual. So I think that was the thinking behind that. But then this larger gap, I think, yeah, it's just the way it is. I'm not involved in the plan of that, so I'm not entirely sure why.
But as an athlete, and you said it can be a bit frustrating at times. It does when you look at other sports and you think, well, you need momentum and race time and all that. It just feels a strange gap.
Oh, 100%. At the end of the day, what we do it for is racing. We're in it for the racing. That's the fun bit. That's the exciting bit. And I think we want to be out there racing and having those back-to-back ones. We really enjoyed that, and then having to all of a sudden go back to this big gap where you go back to almost winter-style training, the long miles and the long sessions. It can be a bit, yeah, let's say frustrating, but it just tends to stunt the season a little bit when you've got that little bit of momentum. And like you say, when in sports where they've got continuous competition, that'll definitely help them.
Is there also a bit of a challenge for some of you returning guys to come back the year after an Olympic Games? Because we see so many athletes, don't we, take a bit of a break after the Olympics. It's such a huge thing that you build towards mentally and physically that actually a lot of people need that time off. So, how is that post-Olympic year been for you?
Oh gosh, I've personally really struggled. I can't speak for any of the other guys who went. But for me, like you say, you build up to the Olympics. It's such a huge thing to build up to. That's the culmination of our sport. And for me to come away feeling a little bit, disappointed with my result, coming fourth, it's, some would argue it's the hardest position to be in. It's then been really tough as a season because you've come off that big high or, roller coaster of emotions, and then you've got to come down to trials again and racing domestically and training again. And you just almost feel, or I just felt a little bit lost and like I struggled a bit. And so getting back to international racing and getting back to that high level competition, it really helped me, and it really allowed me to get back into the enjoyment of the sport rather than just feeling like I was going through the motions a bit, which is what I felt somewhat earlier in the year.
I totally sympathise with you. I've recently written a blog called Let It Go, in which I was saying that I need to move on from Paris 2024. And that was just me. So I can't imagine what it is like for you guys that were actually there and competing. You mentioned, and John knows what I'm going to say here, you mentioned finishing fourth is the hardest place to finish. This was a debate that we had during the Paris Olympics, and one of our panelists on the radio was Daley Thompson. And he said it's not the worst place to finish because it's better than fifth. Do you know what he means?
Yeah, I get what he means. I do understand that, but I also think for me and for some of my friends, we've discussed this, and I think to be so close, it would almost be easier if you're in fourth, but you're a long way off. There's a big gap between the medalists and then fourth. But I think for us, when we were so close, and there was a point where we were in a medal position or there or thereabouts, it's then a much harder thing to come to terms with and to accept. Whereas almost for us, you feel like if you were fifth, that's at least you weren't close. At least you didn't have a chance almost. And I think it's the idea that what could have been, and you could have been there and you could have got something, but you weren't quite there. And I think, I sort of think of it as the worst positions to be a fourth, last, and then second, almost, is the way that I think of it, because you've almost medalled, you were completely last, or maybe you could have won. It's that. Those are for me the kind of positions that are tough to deal with.
I think Daley also was fourth after winning 2 Olympic gold medals, and then he was then fourth in his third Olympics. So I can kind of see why he wouldn't think that that fourth was that bad. Let's look forward, because you've had a great result in the European Championships and the World Cup rowing in Lucerne. So that means you must be full of confidence heading into these World Champs.
Yeah, like you say, we've had a good season this year. Even to us, I think that was a little bit of a surprise at the start of the season. We weren't expecting to be in that position. We definitely weren't expecting to be in that position. And so as a result, we're kind of going forward trying not to expect anything either. We've had that good success. We've done well at the World Cups. We've done well at the European Championships. You know, we won at Henley as well. So I think moving into the World Champs, we've just got to go in with the attitude we've had earlier in the year, which is just go and enjoy it, just go and see what we can do, race the best we can, and know that it's going to take a special crew to beat us, I think. And that's a good place to be in. And it just sort of takes the pressure off a little bit, that mindset that, yeah, if everything goes right, we could do very well and we could win. But, you know, if we don't and we do our best, then that's okay as well.
Because is it fair to say, Matt, that the quad sculls, certainly when you look at the Olympic results, was dominated by European teams? So actually, you being European champions puts you in good stead for the world champs.
I would say so, you know, and me personally, I've basically, last Olympiad, I raced the Olympic final for 3 world champs, basically, with varying different outcomes. But essentially, we raced, and especially last season before the Olympics, we raced the final at every event. You know, it was the same 6 boats in, I think, give or take, exactly the same outcome. So, you know, like you say, the quad sculls is a heavily European dominated event. And especially in recent years, it's been heavily dominated by the same countries as well. You know, you've got the Dutch, the Italians, the Polish, you know, Britain as well. Sometimes the Germans. You know, it's very consistent in that respect. So we're probably fairly lucky in that we have that experience going through the year. We can race the same crews, and we don't have to be too worried about countries coming in from outside of Europe and how competitive they're going to be. Yes, they do. You know, there was a good American crew at Lucerne, and we still have to keep our eye on them. But, you know, we can take some confidence that we've raced everybody we're going to race. And so we can, whilst we don't have to expect anything, we can make a few judgments about where we think things are going to go.
Quick final question then from me on that. Is that perhaps a bit of a challenge for world rowing at the moment, that it is the same nations turning up and being competitive?
I think so. I think so. You know, you're obviously touching on a much wider topic there, which you know, I would agree. I think there does need to be a lot more diversity. You know, sweep rowing has a bit more diversity. There's a lot more competition from outside of Europe, but I think in sculling at the moment, it's, as we've said, very heavily European dominated. Not so much. Well, I'd say not so much in the single. There's a lot more entries in the single. You know, it's a lot easier for a nation to find one individual sculler. To a certain extent, the double as well. But in the quad, it's a struggle to find 4 high-level sculling athletes in some of these countries. So I think the moves that World Rowing are making to shorten the season, to bring these World Cups together, are making it easier for nations who are perhaps a little bit further away to come to these events rather than just waiting to the World Champs. And in the day, that gives them more experience, makes the competition stronger, and gives us a few more crews to race. So I think that's the right move in the long run. It's just going to take a few years to work the kinks out, I think.
Well, as you say, I think it's probably a bigger debate for another day, maybe one we should have after the World Championships when we see the results. So thank you very much for your time today, and all the very best to you and the rest of the British rowers out in Shanghai.
No worries. Thank you very much.
That's Matt Haywood. Now, the men's 8, Olympic champions 12 months ago, of course, European champions this year in 2025, and winners at the World Cup in Varese. Here's the squad for them: Will Stewart,
Archie Drummond,
David Berwick-Copley,
Fergus Warnock,
Miles Beeson,
Sam Nunn,
Matt Aldridge,
Matt Rowe,
and Cox Will Denegri. Well, Tokyo 2020 silver medalist Tom Bryce is back in the men's single sculls for the second time this season at these World Championships. And there are 3 new combinations completing the men's Olympic squad for these World Champs: the men's 4, the men's pair, and the men's double sculls to keep an eye on.
The new women's 4 of Lauren Irwin, Eve Stewart, Heidi Long, and Megan Slabbert are once again being made to work twice as hard, because 4 of them will double up by forming half the crew in the women's 8 as well. They'll be joining Eleanor Brinkhoff, Juliet Perry, Amelia Standing, Martha Birtles, and of course Cox Jack Totem as well. Now, the British 8 were European champions and won that Varese World Cup event that we've mentioned earlier in 2025. We've been speaking to Heidi Long, Olympic bronze medalist from the 8 in Paris, and she's been telling us about how unusual it is to do the double.
This is the first time we've doubled up from the British rowing team at a World Championships. We have done some other championships like the Europeans back in 2022, and also this year we doubled into the 4 and the 8, and also a couple of World Cups. But for World Championships, it is a whole new challenge and something that I'm really excited for Great Britain to be taking on. But yeah, a couple of other nations have done it at the Olympics and previously, and so it might just be something really exciting for us to give a go.
Physically, it's obviously going to be demanding, but you guys are out there on the lake, you're training, you're putting the miles in, the meters in all the time. So that kind of maybe looks after itself. Mentally, is it going to be demanding as well?
Yeah, from a physical perspective, I mean, I think what's really cool about this World Championships is it's over a whole entire week. So similar to an Olympic schedule, you have one race every other day. So by doing 2 events, we actually have a separate race over 6 days rather than 2 a day. Whereas at World Cup, you can sometimes have 59 minutes between start times, which is a very different physical load on the body. But yeah, so I think physicality, we've got the benefit of having it spread out, but the mental challenge, it's huge. You've got to try and create 2 world-class crews in the same amount of time that other people are only creating 1. So that comes from a management perspective, like every day trying to, like, the coaches and the support staff do a great job of figuring out which days we're training in which boats, percentage of training loads. But also we're really trying to create a crew identity in 2 separate crews and bringing us all together. I mean, I think it's a fantastic group of women. I feel very privileged to work with them and Jack, our Cox. And we spend quite a lot of time outside of the boat having these sort of conversations and coming together to create a new unit. Similarly, like this is the first year after the Olympics. And so you have a big change in the cohort of athletes that you're working with. So not only are we trying to learn how each other work to create 2 boats, but also just trying to get to know each other as people and really get to know each other as athletes and how we can get the best out of each other on a daily basis.
I know the answer to this question, but gotta ask it anyway. Is one more important than the other?
No. I mean, when you talk to the higher ups at British Rowing, I'm sure they'll give you a diplomatic answer about priority boats and medals and all sorts of stuff like that. But fundamentally for me, it's a fantastic opportunity to get to race twice. And the goal is exactly the same in both. I've raced at World Championships in 4 before, and I've raced at the Olympics in an 8. So I've got a bit of experience in both, and I love them both. And I feels like a privilege to be able to do both of them, double the fun, as I would say. But no, I'm not going to put a priority on either one.
And the women's 4 for the World Championships is a new 4, isn't it? For these championships. How has that come together?
Yeah, no, it's coming together well. Sadly, one of the athletes came down with an injury earlier this season, so we've done some more selection since then, and so we've got a new lineup. But we've all been working together throughout the year, and it's really coming together well. We had a fantastic training camp in Varese in Italy 2 weeks ago, and got some really solid miles in the bank and started to create that identity of how we want to row. But no, I mean, the other 3 girls in the boat are awesome, and they have such a clear technical idea, really great communication, and also really good fun. So actually, we're excited to have this opportunity to go and race. And yes, it is a bit daunting because we've never raced it before, but we do a lot of training pieces. One of the awesome things about being part of such a strong international team is you can do training pieces with the quad, with the second 4 that goes into our 8 with us, with the double with men's boats. So you can do a lot of training pieces and compare your percentage times against each other. So you can get an idea about how you're racking up against these other crews that have raced throughout the season. And that gives us an idea of where we're standing in the ballpark speeds.
Rowing is A to B, straight down the track. First over the line wins. Yep. But what are the differences between the 4 and the 8?
I mean, the 8, you have a Cox. So they're the person who sits at the front of the boat, and their job is steering and telling you what to do. But I think
shouting at you.
yeah, shouting at you. So I think what's really exciting about that is you've got someone who's literally there to read the race and really get everything out of you. And I also think with the 8, it's such a fierce and ferocious and fast race that it is much more about how that start is executed and how early can you put your hand in your fire and just keep on giving everything you can every single stroke. And that's very similar in the 4, but there is a little bit more of that raceability, like how loose can you be, that real rhythm, like working with the whole, working with the individuals in the boat. So there are slight differences, and I think that has been one of the challenges, is being able to change the slight style of rowing going between the boats each day, and sometimes that can be within 2 hours of one session going from one to the other. But I mean, my fundamental rowing is the same in all of the boats. Like, I love to sit on the start line and go out there and give it we've got from that very, very first stroke, and commit everything to it. So in that regard, we'll just go and attack both those races, and see where we come against the rest of the world.
Just before we wrap up, let's be reflective.
Yep.
Olympic bronze medal. Was it life-changing? Do you still get it out and look at it and think, wow, I did it. I achieved it with my crew?
I mean, no, it was a very, very special moment. And maybe I don't get it out personally to look at it, but I still go to events and talks and stuff like that where I get to take it, and it kind of get to relive some of those emotions as people just kind of get that opportunity to hold it and wear it and take photos and talk to you about your journey. So from that side of things, it has been a bit life-changing, because you go into these situations that you never thought were possible a year down the line and get to share your story with, whether it's young rowers who are aspiring to go and do something and represent their country, or other athletes. So I think that is really, really cool. And then, I mean, I feel very lucky to be bonded for life with this group of 9 people. We try and meet up every couple of months. Like, it takes quite a long time to get 9 schedules in place, especially when half of them are still rowing and half of them have moved on to all sorts of different things. So we try and meet up about twice a year or every couple of months, just because we just get on really well as people, and we really have been bonded together over this unique experience. And no, I think they're all great. We had an amazing Olympic journey, and work together really well. So actually, to be able to still enjoy that on our Olympic anniversary, everyone was sending messages and reliving some of the moments. So no, the day itself was better than I ever could have dreamed. Actually, being able to still share it with people is kind of starting to become a part of who we are, and we'll keep up that forever.
What conditions the medal in? Because I know I've spoken to a few people, and they do, like Lewis Richardson, the boxer, for example. I mean, he's taken his medal everywhere, schools, different events. And maybe, this might be slightly disrespectful, but they didn't seem the best quality, shall we say?
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, I actually got mine replaced. So the Olympic Organizing Committee, especially the bronze ones, they offered for a replacement medal, and I spent about 3 months going back and forth whether I wanted to get a new one or keep the one I had, because my original one is the one I got given on the podium. So you've got that real sentimental value. That's one that your family got to hold and right off the back. But mine was pretty disgusting by the time I got to it. And if I was going to do an event, I would probably have to polish it twice, and it still would look tattered. And I was looking back at photos, and actually I kind of came to the conclusion that winning the medal was the bit that was really important, and then having something that's beautiful and shiny and will stay shiny for grandkids or for longevity, and you can keep sharing it and it still looks beautiful and has that wow factor. So I did actually get it sent off, which was, I mean, it was the most scary package I've ever parceled. I think I literally wrapped it in 10 layers of bubble wrap and duct tape. I have no idea how they managed to get into it when it got back to the center. But no, in hindsight, I am happy to have a beautiful full one back again, because they're spectacular with the piece of the Eiffel Tower in the middle. It's really, really a special thing to have. But yeah, I do feel a bit guilty that it's not my original one.
That's a brilliant story. Just to wrap then, let's hope for better quality medals in Shanghai. And a 4 and an 8 on the agenda.
Yes, so both the 4 and the 8. I mean, our goals have been clear since Paris. Really, is I want to become world champion again. So we are on a mission to go out there and race our absolute hardest, put together a performance that we've been training for all this season, and we'll go out there to go and get gold in both the women's 4 and the women's 8.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck and the whole of British rowing team as well at the Shanghai World Championships. We'll keep you up to date, of course, here on Anything But Footy as well. But Heidi Long, thank you so much for talking to us.
No, this has been amazing. Thank you very much.
Heidi Long. Now, back in the boat with an Olympic gold medal safely on the shore is Hannah Scott. She's teaming up with Lola Anderson, who, along with Sarah Mackay and Olympic bronze medalist Becky Wild, go in the women's quad sculls at these World Championships. The women's double sculls are Lucy Glover and Cam Nyland. And Lauren Henry, after winning the Europeans and 2 World Cups, goes in the women's single sculls as well.
Does this all make you nostalgic for Mer-sur-Marne and your position lakeside in Paris at the Olympic Games, or do I need to let it go?
Well, we all need to let it go, but it was one of the best weeks ever covering the rowing. And look, I hope they do just as well in Shanghai. It was certainly good to see them bounce back after, of course, the nightmare of Tokyo, to be honest.
I got one morning at Ver-sur-Marne and I got to see Emily Craig and Imogen Grant. Imogen Grant, incidentally, one of 2 reserves. Now, as we said, the lightweight Olympic champion. There's no lightweight Olympic classes anymore. They've been replaced by beach rowing for LA 2028. She's now working as a full-time doctor, and we'll have more rowing news to come. Hopes of more medals in para rowing. You're listening to Anything But Footy.
Hey, it's Paris. You know, I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
We are the Olympic and Paralympic podcast focusing on the plethora of world championships happening this autumn. World gymnastics, canoe slalom, track cycling as well, all to come. Athletics going on in Tokyo right now. And next weekend, September 21st, Shanghai, the setting for the latest instalment of the World Rowing Championships.
Now, we spoke to him earlier this year. We're glad to say he's fit again and raring to go after missing the World Cups. Paralympic champion Ben Pritchard, and we know he listens. So hello, Ben. After setting the world's best time at the Europeans, he will go in the PR1 men's single sculls, racing for the first time this year at the unbeaten in 15 years. That's amazing. The PR3 mixed Cox 4 of Paralympic champions Frankie Allen, Gaydra Rakaskaita, Ed Fuller and Josh O'Brien, who are joined by Newcock's Tom Bryce, a 3-time world rowing champion at under 23 level.
And we caught up with Josh and Tom ahead of these World Rowing Championships.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm in the Para Cox 4. This is my first World Championships. So, yeah, really looking forward to getting out there in Shanghai and competing. It'll be the first time I've raced since Paris. So, almost a year now in the Cox 4. So, yeah, really looking forward to it.
Hi, my name's Tom Bryce. I'm coxing the PR3 Cox 4. And this is my first senior vest at World Championship, and I've come off the back of the Under 23 World Championship, which was in Poland a couple of months ago now.
Tom, we'll come to you, obviously, coming into this crew in a moment. I know John wants to quiz you a little bit about that, but the first time you've raced since Paris, I mean, that's been an awful long wait, isn't it?
Yeah, in the Cox 4 anyway. It's with rowing, you do a lot of training and not a lot of racing at the end of the day. But I think, yeah, that's where we win the medals at the end of the day. It's in training, and then we just go out there and collect them. So it's been a bit of a long slog this season, but we've had this to look forward to all year. So yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome getting out there. So I think me and Tom are ready and raring to go.
And this is a question that we speak, and when we speak to a lot of athletes that we ask them, has it been a difficult time trying to sort of come back after the highs of Paris and getting that huge training block under your belt?
Yeah, I think it has been fairly tough. You sort of have a massive high off the games, then you come back, you sort of treat it like celebrities when you're out there, and as soon as you come back, your mum's asking you to empty the dishwasher and straight back to normal life. So it's sort of tough, like readjusting and then getting back to the slog of every day. But I've really enjoyed this season, actually, just building on a slightly new project. It's been refreshing to have obviously Tom come in and get back in the crew in a new order, and just get some training under our belts.
Because Josh, am I right in saying that you were at the World Cups, but you were in the pair or the double, and that's why you say about coming back for this 4?
Yeah, so I raced in the pair. I think, that was earlier this year. That was my first time racing in the pair. But obviously, it's a very different boat to the 4. Obviously, only 2 of you sort of manage your own race, and you don't have anyone steering for you like Tom. But it was a great experience racing out in the World Cup in Varese. It's going to be awesome getting back in the 4 with 4 mates. So the more the merrier.
And I loved your introduction, Josh, as well, where you said it's my first World Championships. You're a Paralympic champion. That's what's so amazing about your story, is that the Paralympics was the first big thing.
Yeah, I think the Paralympic final was my 3rd ever 2K regatta. It all happened quite quickly for me. I learnt to row in my 2nd year of university, and then 2 years later I was on the start line of the Paralympics. So actually never went to the Worlds. Went to 1 European Games and then straight to the Paralympics. So it was a bit of a whirlwind of a journey. But it's great to get my first World Championship vest. Even though I've done the Paralympics, the World Champs is very special. So really looking forward to it.
So Tom, what's it like coming into this medal factory boat then? Have they been welcoming to you?
Yeah, no, of course. They've been really welcoming. They sort of helped me make it feel like home really quickly. And it's been an amazing experience. It's all sort of the professional side of it all has been amazing to sort of come into. It's been very enjoyable.
Tell me about the process. Do you go to them and go, look, guys, I know you're looking for someone, I could be your man? Do they come to you and say, look, we think that you might be what we need this season? How does it work?
So there's a whole process for the Coxes that starts in November to sort of try and apply for each squad. But I was still at Oxford Brookes University in November, so I hadn't applied for the squad. And then I was approached on the lead up to the under-23 championship by Nicola, the head coach, and she invited me to have the opportunity to try and trial for the squad, which I jumped on, and then it was a process of going through recordings, going through coxing CVs, and then a final trial process here at Caversham.
And I expect the experience at the under-23s has helped as well, Tom, that you've kind of been there and done a World Champs or at that level already.
Yeah, it's helped massively. Not just from the racing experience, but having done 3 under-23s, you kind of understand a short-term project a bit more. And while this crew's obviously had time together and done Paralympics together, we haven't had a full season together. So it's almost in a way been a short-term project. So having that experience has really helped me as well.
And a question really for both of you. This boat is unbeaten for years and years and years and years. How much pressure as 2 newbies, effectively? I know, as I said, Josh is a Paralympic champion, but as 2, how much do you know about it, and how much pressure does that put on you that it is this unbeaten record?
Obviously, it's probably one of the longest unbeaten records in British sport. So having the pressure there, I think, is actually a bit of a privilege. We just want to continue the legacy of the crews that have come before us. So I think it's a privilege having the pressure. And at the end of the day, we're not going out there to come second. We're going out there to win and continue this Ford's legacy. So I think it's a very special thing to be part of.
And Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of why you do the sport is for the pressure. We we slog through the winter to then get the opportunity to be under pressure in the summer. But with that pressure also comes experience. This crew have won the Paralympics together, but we've also got athletes in the crew who have won several Paralympics. With pressure comes experience, and that's just as valuable.
I've got a question for you both as well. I'll start with you, Tom. To come together as a crew, the dynamic, do you guys need to be friends? Do you need to get on? Or is it just very much a working professional relationship?
Friends is. No, it's a relationship that you've got to build. I couldn't come in on day one, and as a crew, we couldn't come together and just be best mates automatically. But I always feel like a crew that goes through the training is more than a friendship. It's a really strong bond of trust that all five of us have trained hard to get to where we want to be. You naturally become closer to some people, but I think ultimately it comes down to that trust and that bond that you create through the training load and through that time together.
And Josh, it must be like getting a new housemate, mustn't it? Sort of trying to just work out their strange little idiosyncrasies, their little quirks as they join the crew, and then beginning to adjust to life together.
Yeah, no, it's been good having Tom in. He's brought a lot of good energy. But yeah, I think like we genuinely are all mates in the crew, and that really does help. And I think when we turn up on that start line, we have that trust in each other that we're all going to put ourselves in the bin for each other and work hard. And yeah, in training we have a laugh, but when it comes down to it, we trust each other to get the job done. But yeah, it's been great having Tom in the crew.
Final question then, and you've kind of alluded to it already. Shanghai World Championships. We're just going to see you win, aren't we?
Well, anything less would be disappointing. No, we're going out. Yeah, full ambitions. We know our targets, but we also know there's a process to get there. We can't just turn up and win. So we're getting stuck into it, having a bit of fun. But yeah, just really excited for the opportunity to go out and continue the streak.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough racing out there. It's going to be very hot. We haven't really dealt with conditions like that before as a crew, but it'll make it interesting. But of course, we've got our eyes on the gold.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck and the whole of British rowing as well out in the World Championships in Shanghai. Tom Bryce and Josh O'Brien, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks,
Thank you very much, guys.
Josh O'Brien and Tom Bryce. Paralympic silver medalist Sam Murray and Annie Caddick will race the PR3 mixed double sculls in Shanghai as well.
Well, we are looking forward to following British rowing. I don't know where we're going to get to follow them, but that is a blog for another day. But we are looking forward to following British rowing for the latest World Championships this autumn 2025. You will be able to follow it, incidentally, here at Anything But Footy and across our social media feeds. And as Louise Kingsley, Director of Performance at British Rowing, puts it, we're at the business end of the season and expect to meet some fierce competition in China as we face crews from across the world.
Yes, fingers crossed to British rowing. We'll keep you up to date on our socials, Anything But Footy, all in the usual places. There's our latest blog on the website. I think Michael might be writing one about the coverage of the World Championships that we're talking about this autumn. Anythingbutfooty.com is the latest place for that. And stay with us. We are moving on to Milan and looking ahead to LA.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.